Star Child Advocacy Center held their third annual Night Out fundraising gala at the Parkersburg Arts Center. The Night Out Gala was designed to be North Star's main fundraising event. Despite the winter storm that rolled through, many people came out to attend the gala and have a fun night. North Star received over $23,000 in sponsorships during the event. During the gala, North Star held an awards ceremony to recognize people who went above and beyond to help North Star and the kids in the community. Executive Director Greg Collins wanted to make sure their hard work was recognized.
The kids that come through our center are brought to us by those people, CPS and law enforcement. So they're doing a good job on the ground. We don't get those kids unless they do a good job on the ground. So if they're not doing something remarkable, if they're not, out there on the front lines and bringing us those kids, we don't get to see them.
For a list of the award winners, you can visit our website at WTAP.com.